Greetings, everyone. Kyle Universe here, and man, is my hair ever fluffy. It's like, look at all the fluff. Ugh. It's because I haven't cut it since this whole, virus thing got started. So you're looking at like 4 months of fluff going on here. But I decided to start a new segment called Midnight with the Universe. Now, basically what this is just kind of, it's unscripted. So it's just like me and you, there's no script, and it's just basically just talking about just anything. And so for like a first episode, I thought, why don't I dive into like the past of my YouTube channel and talk about the very first negative comment I ever received, ever. All right? Okay, so we're going to be reacting to the video that my first negative comment got onto. But first I need to kind of set up because it was not on YouTube. See, back in the early days, and it was actually how I first got my first couple hundred subscribers, I used to upload my videos onto a site that you probably have heard of, screwattack.com. They would always allow users to upload their videos, and sometimes they'd even put it on the homepage, and lots of my videos got put on the homepage, and that's how I kind of got my first exposure. But on top of that, there was also a website called gametrailers.com, and I would upload there as well. And Game Trailers, that's where I got the comment. So first what we're going to do is we're going to react to the video, this old video from 2011, and afterwards I'm going to talk about what the negative comment and what the problem with the video was, because people had a lot of problems with this video. So let's check it out. Oh man, look at that old logo.
We all know who this is, right?
How skinny I was back then.
Good old Donkey Kong, who got his start back in 1981. However, something interesting has been going on with the character as of lately. It's been reported that the Donkey Kong from Donkey Kong Country isn't in fact the Donkey Kong from Donkey Kong Arcade. This classic icon is apparently a young Cranky Kong.
So years ago, it was Cranky who kidnapped Pauline and kept her hostage at the top of his tower. When Donkey Kong Country came out in 1994, I, probably just like everyone else, thought that the Donkey Kong you play as was just a rebooted and redesigned version of the arcade one. And on top of that, I remember thinking that Diddy was a retooled Donkey Kong Jr., which he was supposed to be, but because of creative differences Rare and Nintendo had, they made him into a completely different character. So whatever happened to Donkey Kong Jr.? Well, as it turned out, Donkey Kong Jr. grew up to be the Donkey Kong featured in Donkey Kong Country. Isn't that a surprise? That little ape who was trying to save his father in the early 80s grew up to superstardom. I myself only found out about this recently, even though the signs have been there ever since the Donkey Kong Country series on the Super Nintendo. At the very beginning of the game, Cranky is seen atop a red structure similar to the ones in the arcade game, and he is cranking a Victrola that plays the original Donkey Kong arcade music.
Oh, I might get a copyright claim for that music. You can't get away with that nowadays.
Also, throughout the game, Cranky will say random lines that kinda hint that he is the original Donkey Kong. Whisking off maidens and throwing barrels around the place 7 days a week, I was. That's how I got where I am today, Hard work.
Well, you can't argue with that. All facts imply that Cranky Kong is the original Donkey Kong, which would make the current Donkey Kong, Donkey Kong Jr.
However, there's been much debate on if Donkey Kong is in fact Cranky's son or grandson. You can search all over the internet and you will find both answers. In some of the games, like the Donkey Kong Country series, Cranky is said to be Donkey Kong's grandfather. However, in Donkey Kong 64, Cranky refers to him as his son.
In all actuality, it would make more sense if Donkey Kong was Cranky Kong's son instead of grandson. Because if he is Donkey Kong Jr. grown up into the current Donkey Kong, that would mean because he has Jr. in his name, that he would be the son of the original Donkey Kong, which is Cranky Kong. It makes me wonder what the Donkey Kong family tree looks like. Oh, why not? Let's go take a look.
Okay, on top we have Cranky, also known as the original Donkey Kong, whom is confirmed to have married Wrinkly Kong, This must mean that Wrinkly is Donkey Kong's, also known as Donkey Kong Jr.'s, mother. Then there's Diddy Kong. It has been reported that Diddy is Donkey Kong's nephew, which would mean that there is a second son or daughter of Cranky and Wrinkly. Some people believe that it is Swanky Kong because of how much he and Donkey Kong look alike. There's a chance it could also be Funky, but since Swanky has more of a resemblance to Donkey Kong, we'll go with him. Okay, so let's say that Swanky is Diddy's father. Well, seeing as how Diddy is a chimpanzee and Swanky is an ape, either he married a chimp or Diddy was adopted. So here we have the Kong family tree. However, what about the other Kongs? It has been confirmed that Dixie is the older sister to Tiny, and that Chunky is the older brother to Kitty, and that all of them are cousins. But are they in any way related to the Kong family? Could Funky be the third sibling to Donkey Kong and Swanky? I suppose it is possible that the two girls' father could be Funky. It would explain the girls' fascination with flying. If Funky is indeed the father of Dixie and Tiny, along with the brother to Donkey Kong and Swanky, then the entire Kong family could be related. Of course, then again, they might not be related at all. After all, Dixie is Diddy's girlfriend. I mean, unless they're cool with that type of thing. And Lanky Kong is said to be related to the Kong family, but is a distant cousin. But it's not clear on how distant he is. It's definitely the type of thing that you can wrap your brain around a while. But I'm kind of getting a little off track. I merely just wanted to explain that Cranky is the original Donkey Kong.
I think it would be awesome if they re-released the arcade game, you know? Only they, like, redid it. They would put, like, Cranky Kong up on top of the tower, and they'd have the current Mario running up to save the current version of Pauline. Of course, some would criticize that Cranky is way too old to be throwing heavy barrels at Mario.
Who would have thought she would have come back?
But hey, if Donkey Kong 64 has taught us anything, is that Cranky is also a scientist. He could create some kind of apparatus where he sits in a chair, and he, like, controls this claw, and he, like, uses the claw to pick up the barrel and, like, throw it at Mario. It would work. Yeah. I mean, this year does mark the 30th anniversary of Donkey Kong, so come on, Nintendo, let's see how you celebrate it.
Wow. 2011. Okay. Well, let's talk about this. Okay, so, right away, a few people commented on this, and it was fine. They're like, oh, great job, nice video, and all that. And then came my very first negative comment. And it was because of a mistake. Alright, so, I checked the video comments, and there was this comment that was like a paragraph long. And I'm like, oh, what does this guy have to say? And the very first part of it is, you are an idiot. And I'm like, what? What's wrong? And it continued on. It's like, I can't believe you don't know the difference between a chimpanzee and a monkey. And I'm like, what? And then I realized that back in the video, when I was describing Diddy, I called Diddy a chimpanzee. Diddy is a monkey. And I know what you're thinking. It's like, big deal, right? You know, it was a slip of the tongue. And it was an accident. I mean, obviously I know that Diddy is a monkey, but for some reason, it just came out and he's like, chimpanzee. And this guy did not let me forget it. It's like, it just kept going, the paragraph. He's like, oh my gosh, chimpanzees are this, blah, 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 blah. Monkeys are this, blah, 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 blah. I can't believe you don't know the difference between an effing chimpanzee and an effing monkey. And it just kept going and going and going. And I'm like, oh my gosh. Like, this caused me so much anxiety back then. Because you gotta remember, at that point, I was probably maybe 4 months or so into YouTube. And I had not received a negative comment up until that point. So that one really shook me. And what a humdinger of one to, you know, be like your very first negative comment. I was like, oh my gosh. It's like, what do I do? But, you know, unfortunately, that wasn't the only negative comment I got on the video. Because there was another group that was criticizing my research. Because the thing is, in the Super Nintendo instruction manual, it says that Diddy is a Donkey Kong wannabe. He's not related to him at all. He just follows him around and wants to be just like him. And the thing is, I knew that it said that because after a bunch of research, I did pull it out and I read it, but the problem was I couldn't find any evidence of that online. Because then I cross-checked it. I looked at a bunch of websites, and it was not listed anywhere back then. So I thought that Nintendo retconned it. Like, you know, somewhere around Donkey Kong 64, they're like, oh, well, let's just make him his nephew. Because the thing is, that's what I was finding on all these websites. It was saying that Diddy was Donkey Kong's nephew. So the fact that I was finding that on every website, and that no website was saying that he was a Donkey Kong wannabe, I thought Nintendo retconned it. So that's why I put that in the video. So then I had this other subset of commenters that was giving me crap about that, and it was like, ugh. You can imagine how that was for like a up-and-starter YouTuber that was just posting, like, I think that was at the time my third video, and none of these are up anymore. This was on my old channel, which is now Origins with Kyle Universe. But I will always remember that because it really hit deep because I had never gotten a negative comment before. But, you know, looking back on it now, it's important because we all get negative comments. And I get them now, you know, every now and then still. And they don't bother me anymore just because I've learned to, you know, just kind of learned how to deal with them. But back then, man, whew, I did not know how to deal with negative comments, and it just tore me apart, and I had anxiety for a couple days about posting videos. But, you know, guys, I wanted to try something different, this Midnight with the Universe, and I just wanted to share this little story with you about my very first negative comment. If you have any other ideas about things that you'd like me to talk about, make sure to leave them in the comments below, or follow me on Twitter and leave me a message there. Absolutely, I'll read everything. Alright, it's late. I'm Kyle Universe, and I will see you out there.